Speaker Johnson schools Jake Tapper on media coverage of corruption. It's so funny. They try to point to the Trump family and talk about some type of corruption, but they were totally silent when it came to the Bidens. Hunter Biden and his dealings overseas and using his dad's name to make money off of and things like that. They were disinterested in that, but all of a sudden, there's Trump family is into some type of corruption. We heard this story before, right? So we're gonna talk about it. We're gonna play the clip, but before we get started, go ahead and hit that like button. Share this out so we can get this information out there. Subscribe if you're not already a subscriber, and hit that alarm bell so you know when I'm putting out new stuff. Also, check out my link tree in the description. It has a link to my Patreon. That's where I talk about things that I can't talk about here. There's also a link to my Instagram and my X account, so follow me there as well. All right, so let's get into this news. Now, this comes from Newsbusters, and they report the onslaught of media stories about the Trump's family's stake in cryptocurrency portrays a strange new interest in coverage of the perception of corruption. As Speaker Mike Johnson reminded CNN's Jake Tapper, things were different back then, right? Watch as Tapper ends the interview with the crypto question and is instead confronted with questions about the timing of his book and the scope of his reporting on President Joe Biden's physical and cognitive decline. So let's get right to that clip here. Here we go.
I want to ask you about something else. President Trump held a closed-door event Thursday night for top investors in his private cryptocurrency. We do not know who was there. The list has not been released. We do not know how much of the money came from outside the country. The president has, of course, a huge role to play when it comes to regulating crypto. I really have a difficult time imagining that if this was a Democratic president doing the exact same thing, you wouldn't be outraged.
Well, look, I don't know anything about the dinner. I was a little busy this past week, as you know, getting the reconciliation package over the line. And so I'm not going to comment on something I haven't even heard about. I'm not sure who was there or what the purpose was. But I'll say this. President Trump is very active. He's very engaged. He's the greatest deal maker, one of the greatest deal makers of all time. He is working on these trade imbalances that we've had and having tremendous success. We've got over 75 countries now renegotiating their trade agreements with America. It's going to make it better for all of us, everybody in the country. And he is encouraging new technologies, crypto, and the advancement of AI. He's appointed a czar for the first time. We have an AI czar in David Sachs, who's an expert in the industry from Silicon Valley. There's a lot of exciting things happening. The president is trying to encourage that along as much as he can, and I think the vast majority of the country is applauding those efforts. So I'm one of them. I think the result of all this is going to be extraordinary for everybody in the country.
I love what Trump is doing with the trade deals. He is one of the greatest traders of all, deal makers of all time. Man literally wrote a book on the art of the deal. It's a wonderful book. I advise y'all to check it out for yourself. It'll give you some insight into Donald Trump. But remember how they was talking about these tariffs was going to destroy the country and all that other things that they said was going to happen, and none of that stuff happened. Inflation is down. Gas is down. Trump got the economy, I think, heading in the right direction since he took over. It's amazing to watch. It's amazing to see.
You oversaw, as Speaker, a congressional investigation into President Biden's ties to his son Hunter's questionable business dealings to enrich him.
Right.
You seem to think it was your responsibility to look into this sort of thing then.
Because we had evidence of that. We don't know anything about this meeting that you're talking about with Trump and cryptocurrency or whatever. So what, he had a meeting. We got no evidence of any wrongdoings. With the Biden stuff, we had evidence of actual wrongdoing, of money laundering. We have evidence of all of that. That's why it was a big deal then. You're looking for smoke when there's none right now. We don't know anything about this meeting that you're talking about. So you can't equate the two, bruh.
Yeah, Jake, the big important distinction, the Biden crime family, as they were named, earned that title. Why? Because they used shell companies, fake LLCs, series of what appeared to be money laundering operations. And
yes,
and
what I was
Biden,
saying,
of course, with his difficult past and his the corruption in his past, the family on the public dole or on the the president's dole. The president lied about his involvement in the business dealings. All
Facts.
of that. The evidence just
Facts.
piled up. And by the way, at the same time,
the
evidence of his diminished mental capacity, subject to your book, of course. I wish it had been published a year earlier because everybody saw it. Everybody saw what was happening. He used the auto pen. And by the way, there's investigations right now going on in the House. Jamie Comer and the Oversight Committee will be investigating the use of the auto pen, when the president's mental capacity declined, and whether all those things are even legally valid now, given the obvious fact that he was not the one making the decisions. It's huge implications from all this. And so I think the American people had reason to doubt, and we had great reason and I think a responsibility to investigate those things. The difference, of course, is that President Trump does everything out in the open. He's not trying to hide anything. There's no shell companies or fake LLCs or fake family businesses. He's putting it out there so everybody can.
All facts. If he were doing something slimy, we wouldn't even be hearing about this meeting that's going on right now. So this man is the most transparent president we've ever had in recent history, and he's talking about and he's trying to pretend like it is some bad thing going on with this crypto meeting when we don't have any evidence of that. I'm all about evidence, all about facts. We have facts when it comes to the Biden crime family. Johnson was 1,000% correct on that. He crushed them on that.
Evaluate for themselves.
On the book, I wish the more than 200 people that talked to me and Alex Thompson, my co-author, after Election Day, I sure wish that they had talked to us a year ago. I agree with you on that. But on this matter with the crypto, shouldn't we at least just know who was at the dinner? Wouldn't you want to know that list of people?
I guess. I mean, again, I don't know anything about that dinner.
Okay.
I do know that President Trump is the most transparent president in the most transparent administration.
That's what I was saying.
Probably in history. He has nothing to hide,
what I was saying.
and he's out there trying to advance America's interests. That's what America First policies are all about, and that's what our big reconciliation bill will deliver for the people. We're really proud of the product.
Bars. Shout out Johnson for that. I'm no big fan of Johnson. Y'all know that. But he hit the nail on the head when it came to that. This is how it's going to be going forward. At every interview, Tapper is going to be asked, well, why didn't you talk about this sooner when Biden was doing the same thing? And if his exchange with Speaker Johnson is in any indication, he has no real response beyond, I wish our sources had spoken up sooner. That's it. The American people didn't need sources to determine that Joe Biden was severely diminished, both physically and cognitively, and there was no way he could have been in full command of the White House. All it took was for people to see with their own eyes and ears, with their own eyes and hear with their own ears, and that should be enough for the media to ask more questions more often. But of course they didn't, because if they ask questions, they will be looked at as helping Trump. They already admitted that. And uncorrupted media would have certainly done so, but we all know they're corrupt. Tapper's response is all the more galling considering the array of unsourced stories and hoaxes the media ran during the first Trump administration. For the time being, the response to these righteous call-outs appear to be self-flagellation and mea culpa. But will there be significant reflection and reform? I'm a pessimist when it comes to the media, so I'm going to say no. But time will tell. I'm not holding my breath. Yeah, you shouldn't. You shouldn't hold your breath. You shouldn't hold your breath. I don't see them reforming because they're still doing the same thing. The mainstream media continues to do the same thing they've been doing, which is lie, omit, all of that stuff. They don't tell you the whole truth. This is why they're the dinosaur dying media. But y'all let me know what y'all think about this. Leave y'all comments down below. Like, share, and subscribe. And check out jjthepsychotherapist.com for the latest in news. Until next time, peace.